right, so Jaylen's available for questions. We just ask that you kind of respect the setting in the event, and we keep it as focused on today's speech and question and answer as much as we can.
What are your thoughts on James Harden, man?
Joe, what was the experience like? I mean, you've probably watched TV, watched people speak at colleges, and I'm sure you saw tape of Ali doing it and various athletes. What was the experience like?
Man, it was a great experience. It's my first time really giving, that was my first time really giving a public speech in a sense. And I had fun. It was definitely a first, and I hope to do it more, but it was a good experience.
What was your process for actually making the speech?
It was a long process, you know, taking stuff out, adding stuff in, you know, just I wanted to connect with the crowd and connect with things that I know people would resonate with. I knew who I was talking to. I was at Harvard, the setting that factored in. Also, I was talking to a lot of teachers and professors that were there as well. So, you know, I wanted to be obviously cognizant of the things that they would think of, and obviously speak on something that can connect with them as well.
How much study have you done in educational theory, just all the concepts you come up with?
I would say a lot.
When did it start?
When did it start? When I got to college, you know, took an educational class. Like I got placed, well, summer bridge, they put us in classes, you know, based off our interests. And my first class I was in education class. And after taking that class, I guess they saw something or whatever, but I was able to take graduate level classes in education after that. So I was taking graduate level classes, and I took an independent study. I never told nobody, but I took an independent study when I was at Cal with the dean of undergrad, well, the head of education department at Berkeley as well, where I chose a bunch of readings that I wanted to read. He chose a bunch of readings he wanted to read, and then we put them together and made a curriculum.
If you weren't a basketball player, would you be in education?
It's safe to say that. I don't know.
Jaylen, so many people showed up with un-basketball related questions to learn more about you as a man, person. What does that mean to you? It's pretty impressive.
But it's what?
Well, that people showing up not necessarily with basketball or NBA related questions, more learning about you and what you've done and the articles that you've been involved in, and having really thought out questions for you that were awesome.
It means a lot. It means a lot, but me coming up here, in reality, it means a lot, but it really wasn't about like me. Like I wasn't speaking for myself necessarily. I don't speak for everybody, but I know people in my neighborhood, my community, and feel a certain type of way. I was, you know, advocating for them, you know, because I made it to a point in society where, you know, I escaped the barriers that have been put in place, but the people who didn't, should we forget about them?
You know, Jaylen, to piggyback on that, like I feel like a lot of times it's hard to find a focus, you know, growing up, and I feel like a lot of times like that's sort of the you know, the go-to is like, oh, I don't know what I want to focus on, I don't know what I want to do. What do you say to those type of kids who just can't focus on something that's, whether it's related to school or whether it's anything to keep them away from the dangers that you spoke about today? What would you say is like a way to get them to focus or find something that they really want to do? Kids in high school, middle school, etc.
It depends. Everybody's different. You know, everybody has their own things that they're interested in, and people are passionate about what they are interested in. You know, focus. That comes with. I feel the term focus comes with, you know, something that you're passionate about. I just feel like they haven't found something that they're really into yet. I feel like when you do, you know, that focus is there. Like when I found education, like that focus for me was there. Like when I'm reading about other things and other issues, that focus wasn't there for me because it was hard to understand it. It's hard to connect it to me and stuff like that. So when you find that passion about whatever it is that you're into, I feel like that focus would be there. And I think just, you know, how do you find, if the question is how do you find that passion that you're into, I think that's what, you know, counselors, that's what are for, and that's what education is supposed to be about. You know, should want to bring out the best in the kid and have them be what they feel, the most passionate about.
You spoke during your speech about taking some parts out of your speech because you didn't want them to get twisted. I guess the way you want to speak your mind and everything, what was the conflict there as you decided not to say those things?
The conflict was, it wasn't really a conflict, but it was definitely a concern. Just throughout media, there's a pushback for athletes who speak in society. I don't think athletes are allowed to have an opinion, and it's tough. Athletes are evolving right in front of our eyes. You have athletes who are VCs, politicians, etc. And still, as influential as athletes are in our society, we're told to shut up and dribble. So that was the concern, because you see things happen because athletes speak their mind and talk about political issues. That was one of the things I wasn't necessarily afraid of. I was just concerned about, because I wanted to still protect myself in that space. But you see certain things happen. You see people get laughed at, ridiculed, blackballed, etc. All these certain things. Like I just want the notion to change. I think athletes have a lot of influence, and I think if they want to use it, they don't have to. If they want to use it, they should be able to.
Have you had much pushback?
Have I had much pushback? No, I don't think I have. I don't think I have had any pushback. But I think that's been a part of my brand since I came into the league. Even when I went to Cal, what I associated myself with was a part of it. And I haven't had any pushback, thank God. But you never know. Some of the things you might say, or some of the things you might be misconstrued, or some people misinterpreted. And I never want that to be the case.
It seems like you've not really gone out of your way, I think, but you've made it a point to get yourself across as the educated athlete, even since before you were in the NBA. What was kind of your decision making at that time when you first decided to do that?
To be honest, that was my initial plan. Like I have opinions or things just like anybody else. Just like people who have day jobs, they have opinions, they say things, and they do things, they make investments, it's a part of it, it's a part of life. And I know athletes, we're typically, confined in a box in the sense that, we're millionaires, we should just be quiet, we're fine. Like, why are you complaining? In reality, we're all advocates of the communities that we came from. And just because we made it out or we made it to a certain place in those communities, why we should forget about the people who didn't or won't. And, that was a part of me being, like you said, that was a part of me making sure that was a point even before I got to the NBA, before I was even drafted. That was what I wanted people to know needed to be.
You touched on the way that people reacted to just getting to know you and seeing your scholarly ambition. Did you feel almost kind of patronized by people reacting so strongly to the fact that you have a strong intellectual capacity rather than focusing on the actual substance of what you're saying?
Yeah, it goes both ways. I'm not really sure how some people feel, but I definitely agree that's something that should be talked about. Are people really paying attention to what I say, or are they just really just fascinated that I'm an athlete and I'm saying the things that I'm saying? Because they haven't seen it before, or seen an athlete, intellectual, or whatever the case may be. Like, that's something that I think is a topic of discussion as well. Hopefully they listen to the substance and things I was talking about, but I've always felt that, the low expectation, growing up in society, the low expectation of me, but, being here has been truly a great experience, speaking at Harvard, and hopefully, some kids back home where I'm from heard some of the things I said here today, and maybe they'll be at Harvard in the next 4 or 5 years, who knows?
Do you think the more you talk about it, the more it's starting to actually resonate? People are you're talking about education reform and things that most people, I think, in the public don't think about very often, but do you think it's getting people to try to actually do their research and try to understand it because they're interested in something that you're interested and passionate about?
I think so. I think that goes with it. I think that definitely could be a case. Or some people are really interested in it, and then, they just don't pay attention to it. It could be anything. Everything is subjective. Everybody has their own experience. I'm just happy to be here today. I had some concerns when when I first came up here, but you know, the more I got going, and the more when I got here, I was just the things I had to say and the passion I felt for the things I had to say overrid my concern.
Any final questions?
Sorry. Hey, Jaylen, how familiar are you with the Harvard basketball program here? And have you ever talked with Coach Amaker? And has he ever said to come to a game or share your thoughts with his players?
Yeah, I talked to Coach. I talked to Tommy a few times. He actually invited me on campus, you know, on some recruitment stuff. Like came up to the school, played some open gym and stuff like that. I was trying to get Wendell to come here. Wendell Carter. He was Harvard was on his list. I was trying to get. He ended up going to Duke, which was a great fit for him, and that was perfect for him. And I'm glad he made the decision he made because that was best for him and his family. But you know, I think it's a lot of power, you know, in that it's such a prestigious university, and having someone of such basketball stature and just combining the two. Because I think sports and education, I think they overlap. And I don't want to talk anybody's ear off. I know I've been talking all day. People are blue in the face, but I just want to say I'm happy to be here and I'm thankful. And like I said before, I feel like that notion is up to us, the media, society, fans, etc., to continue to challenge that notion of why it's okay or why should we just athletes just shut up and dribble. I think that's ridiculous.
All right, we'll wrap it up right there.